Title: Scientists found movement, but there was nothing there. The first thing they notice is the needle. It twitches once, just enough to leave a thin scar on the flat green line. Then it is still again, as if it never moved. In a room built to be quieter than a cathedral at midnight, where the rubberized floor kills footsteps and the walls swallow echoes, something has moved. They are not supposed to see this. The chamber is sealed, a stainless steel world of vacuum so clean that even a breath would count as weather. There is no air inside, nothing to sway, nothing to rattle. A wafer-thin square of glass hangs in the center, the lightest trampoline you can imagine, suspended by threads narrower than a hair. A laser stares at it without blinking, reading positions in billionths of a meter. On the control screen, the graph looks like a horizon at dawn, flat, silent. Until the twitch. They don't say anything at first, not because they are afraid, but because words feel too loud in a place like this. The graduate student closest to the monitor leans in. She knows the noises that happen when a truck idles 2 blocks away, when the air conditioning opens a louver, when a train slides into the city. She knows the taste of electrical hums in the data. This isn't one of them. She scrolls back through the logs. No earthquakes on the network, no elevators, no slamming doors. The vacuum held, the temperature stayed put, the laser never flinched. The needle, somehow, did. It would be easy to call it a glitch and go home. It is late, the coffee is bitter, and the vending machine flickers like it's thinking of dying. But she writes the time in her notebook and puts a tiny star next to it. Then she turns a knob, a fraction of a turn, sliding the device closer to absolute zero. The whole point of tonight was to drive the system into perfect stillness. They are hunting for a floor, a limit, a point beyond which nature stops fidgeting. If they can reach it, the trampoline should freeze, motionless, held by nothing they can name. The laser will watch and write down the calm. The calm doesn't come. The line wriggles again. Not wildly, not like noise, but like breathing. A rhythm with no metronome. She calls the others. In the doorway, they appear as silhouettes against the soft blue of the lab's insomnia. They crowd behind her shoulder, not touching the desk. Every motion in the room would be an accusation. When you build a machine to notice almost nothing, your first enemy is yourself. They switch off the last fan. They lock the door with the softness of a diver sinking underwater. They point to a second monitor on another bench, fed by a completely separate amplifier. It is a kind of superstition that lives in labs. 2 eyes are harder to fool. The second display shows the same thing. A tremor, a narrowband ripple, a tickle that refuses to stop, even as they peel away every plausible cause. It gets clearer as the room gets quieter. At the lowest temperature, when the crystal is colder than space, the line still dances. Outside of rooms like this, the word nothing is a convenience. Here, it is a claim with a target on its back. The rubber of the floors, the metal of the chamber, the faces peering through the glass, they all conspire to press something into the space where the instrument listens. And yet, the checklist grows 1,000 green check marks. They have stolen heat from the system by degrees. They have pumped away air until the pressure hovers a breath away from zero. They have tied the apparatus to the building's bones with elastic cords to float it away from footsteps and wind. The line still moves. Hours pass like held breath. On the walls, the clocks seem louder than sound. They don't get fireworks. They get a pattern. In the whisper-thin jiggle of the membrane is a signature so mathematical it feels like handwriting. The wiggle has a spectrum. Some frequencies are gluttons, some are picky. The curve they get looks like one they've only seen in equations. It is not random, not a rat's nest of accidents, but a neat curve shaped by a rule. The colder they go, the less the world can shake it, and yet it never goes to zero. There is a line they cannot cross, imposed by the universe itself. At the edge of that line, what they are watching is not a mistake. It is called zero-point motion. At temperatures where even atoms become miserly with their energy, the glass trampoline still will not keep still. The laser is not lying. In a courtroom of physics, Heisenberg would take the stand and shrug. You cannot know position and momentum both with perfection. If you crush one, the other bites back. The membrane, stripped of heat and air and meddling forces, must still quiver, because the laws that write reality won't sign off on a perfectly motionless thing. The nothing inside the chamber is not empty at all. It roils with a kind of irreducible jitter. They have found movement, and there is nothing there to move it. If this were the only time the universe betrayed the restlessness of nothing, it would still be a kind of poetry. But there are other stories. In a different building on a different continent, a hallway opens onto a space the size of an airplane hangar. Light bounces down long, airless tunnels, folds onto itself, and waits in perfect geometry between mirrors perched on pedestals of polished stone. The whole contraption holds its breath for a kind of movement humans never felt until 8 years ago, the stretching of space itself. The first time that instrument spoke, people thought it was a prank the universe was playing. A shiver passed the length of the tunnels, tugging the mirrors closer, then farther, not by millimeters, not by microns, but by less than 1,000th of the width of a proton. No sound, no flash. Astronomers spun up their telescopes to see what had thrown the pebble into the pond. There was nothing at those coordinates, in visible light, in radio, in every wavelength they begged for answers. And yet the mirrors had moved in a pattern so precise you could whistle it. Two black holes had slammed together in a place no camera could see, and the ripples they made rolled space like a carpet. The detectors registered movement, but nothing was there to touch them. Space itself had twitched. These kinds of absences are their own presence. In one room, a nothing you can hold in a chamber wriggles because it cannot fall asleep. In another, a nothing that stretches between galaxies breathes with events so violent the light never reaches us. Scientists learn to believe their instruments, but they also learn to doubt them before they do. Which is why, back in the small cold room with the trembling glass, the team keeps pushing the system towards silence. They are not chasing ghosts, they are chasing a boundary. As they lower the temperature by another sliver and pour more arithmetic over the data, something else peeks out. A shortage of noise at one frequency and a surplus just next door. It's a hallmark of a different trick they can play on the void: squeezing. They can take the vacuum's random jitter and shove it around, reducing uncertainty in one place at the cost of bloating it elsewhere. They use light not as a lamp, but as a lever, shaping the fluctuations of nothing like clay. This is not fiction. Humans now make quieter than vacuum light and feed it into machines. The membrane responds. Where it was lively before, it relaxes. Where it was calm, it now squirms. They are not just watching nothing move. They are pushing it, and it pushes back. When word of the zero-point motion result flutters out of the lab into the world, it will be wrapped in plots and careful caveats. The public write-ups will talk about quantum ground states and precision metrology and the next steps for quantum computing. They will be right, but they will miss the shiver the team felt when they first saw a clean line jump in an empty chamber. It is not just a new toy. It is a small, clear window showing that under our everyday sense of stillness, everything moves, even when nothing does. There are bigger versions of the same question on the table. The night sky itself is an evidence board. Galaxies run away a little too quickly, as if the vacuum is pushing on them with an invisible hand. We gave it a name, dark energy, because names keep us from staring too long at the abyss. In the bowels of underground tanks filled with liquid xenon, photomultiplier eyes watch for a blip, a flash of light that means a particle touched them and then vanished. Every so often, those eyes see a pulse no one fully predicts. The team rolls their chairs back, counts environmental radioactivity, checks for contaminants breath by breath. The signal doesn't always survive the autopsy, but it keeps the question alive. What else hides in the tremble of nothing we haven't thought to name? The room returns to its hum. The star in the graduate student's notebook becomes a line of careful notes, dates, temperatures, small sketches of curves. A week later, that page fills with 6 more stars, each a notch in a story that's less about one spasm on a monitor and more about a patient courtship. They are learning to talk to the most stubborn lover in physics. When they speak to nothing, it answers, never loudly, always at an angle, in a language made of probabilities and limits. Tonight they will try one more thing. Not colder, not quieter, but stranger. They will change the color of the laser, reshaping the vacuum's fluctuations to slip past an even tighter guardrail. If they've understood the way the floor moves under their feet, the dance they saw should warp in a way their equations predict. If it doesn't, then something else lives in the crack between their expectations and the line on the screen. She reaches for the knob again. Somewhere far above this lab, black holes collide in a dark without light, and the space between stars quivers where no one watches. Somewhere deep below, caged xenon waits for a whisper of a partner that may never come. Here, in this small steel chamber, nothing is preparing to move again. And when it does, they will have to decide whether they are still staring at the purest silence the universe can give, or if they've just heard a new kind of voice.